cacao tree, and they're making their chocolate. But let's come and have a look at here's a tree that's doing well. And there is one that Uga's got.
Yeah.
And people don't realize that when they eat chocolate, that it actually comes from this fruit. And the cacao fruit is very, very tasty. And people often ask, what does it taste like? And it's not sweet, sour, it's both. And it's pulpy, but it's not like any other fruit. But you never get to eat the fruit because the seeds are far more valuable and they get fermented and then and so here you can take this off and you can see there's a lot of seeds and then más bueno de otro.
Ya, el otro estaba más maduro, está un poco.
Which one's much better?
This is heart of palm with some fish. This is how it was made. Heart of palm along with some fish. You can see. And this is the white cacao. And they're roasted as well. This is the cheetah here. The Wayusa.
So the cheetah, it has yucca, jungle potato,
A fermented drink.
fermented, usually about 5 to 7 days.
Yeah.
See, okay.
This is the grubs. They've been really nicely roasted. The larva stage
Yes.
of certain
Jungle bacon.
I know that. And then that's wild grapes. Or it's like grapes, but it's different.
That's jungle ribs.
And then, of course, this was some hot,
Spice.
spicy.
Okay, our next panel today is on food as medicine. My name is Alexina Cather, and I am the Director of Policy Advocacy and Sustainability at the James Beard Foundation, and I am joined today by Niyanta Spelman, CEO and board member at the Rainforest Partnership, Snehee Chaplot, CEO and founder at The Food Shop, and Joshua Dixon, co-founder and CEO at Maxine's Microgreens. So I want to start off the panel because you all work in very, very different sectors of the food system by talking to you about why food is medicine. So how did you each get interested in this space? How does it connect personally to your life? And how does it connect to you professionally? Niyanta, do you want to start?
I was hoping you were going to go with
We
something
could
else.
start. Let's do gentlemen first. Go ahead. Joshua.
Yeah, so my name is Joshua Diskin. I'm this co-founder and CMO of Maxine's Microgreens. I got into this was a year ago. I was actually a federal firefighter. I had quit my job and pursued international business as a profession or as a degree plan. And I came in contact with a company called Maxine's Microgreens, which was my co-founder's company at the time. I started volunteering at events and farmers markets, and I really fell in love with teaching people about the health benefits of microgreens. Microgreens are a huge part of our daily diet. They are up to 40 times more nutrient dense than the adult versions of the plant. And they have amazing health benefits. Some protect against cancer and diabetes, while others protect against heart disease. So after I had left the military, I was dealing with depression, I was unmotivated, I was overweight, and I needed to do something about my health. And microgreens was a great way to get my health up. And if anybody's ever heard of microgreens, they're the toppings on the food that we had today. A lot of the different products that we had, there was the little baby vegetables. So that's pretty much my story, how I got started with it.
Thank you for sharing your personal story as well. And
Hi,
thank you all
everyone.
for sticking around. I do want to mention, can you guys just quiet down a little bit so we can hear our speakers? Thank you.
Hey everyone, I am Snehee Chaplot, the CEO and founder of The Food Shop. You actually had some of my products over here today, some of you did. The Gallivant Mava ice creams, I am the creator of that product. Around, I would say 7 years ago, I'd gotten very sick, and one of the reasons that, or one of the outcomes of that sickness was that I had lost my power to eat, or my digestive powers to eat normal food. And it became pretty intense, where I was actually forced to consume what babies eat. And my mother was with me at that time, and she started feeding me what we used to in her when she was young, and when her mother used to, whenever she was unwell, she would give those kind of meals back to her, and that she replicated those versions for me. And that's how I started kind of realizing that, this food is helping. I'm not throwing up, I'm not getting sick, I'm actually able to hold myself better. So I understood the power of food at that time, and that was actually the background of why I started the food shop. At Gallivant Ice Creams, one of the outcomes of that sickness was also that I developed gluten allergies and extreme dairy sensitivities. Now, I'm a vegetarian, and dairy is a big part of my diet. Now, gluten, I can give up. There are things that I could have eaten, but dairy was something that I could not give up. And I started looking into what was different in dairies in the older days, where I mean like 50 to 75 years ago. What was different at that time? Why did it have healing powers then? Because dairy still is used as different dairy products are used as medicines in Ayurvedic sciences, Chinese medicine, Unani medicine. So what is different there? And why is it not the same today? So that was the motivation behind getting into or starting my own company, the Food Shop. And the product that you just ate today, the Gallivant Mama ice cream, we actually source our milk from farms that are ethically making clean dairy. And there's a difference, and we'll get into that as we speak. So
Okay,
that's me.
thank you.
Okay, so the reason I asked to go last is I'm a little bit different. Because what I do is I work on protecting tropical rainforests. So how are rainforests connected to food and medicine? If you talk about any indigenous community that lives in the Amazon, we work in the Amazon and beyond, they'll tell you that the forest is both their supermarket and their pharmacy. The forest provides food, the forest provides medicine. We have something really dreadful that's been happening, and most of us don't pay attention. So we've lost, in my lifetime, and therefore some of you in this room that are close to my age, half the tropical rainforests that hold 50% of our biodiversity, all this amazing food, medicine beyond our ability to know about, because we've not even studied 1% of what the forest holds. And so for me, I'm about our planet. I'm about protecting our humanity's ability to live on this planet and everything else that coexists with us. And I do that through forests. And that's completely connected to food in ways we don't think about. I'll take 30 seconds more to say, the biggest drivers of deforestation, most of you think is wood and timber. It rarely is. It's beef, it's corn, it's soybean. What do you think corn and soybean are used for? Often to feed livestock, and even things like salmon and chicken, which never evolved to eat these things. They did not evolve to eat corn. Palm oil, and 50 to 80% of products, whether it's your shampoo, your makeup and creams, ice creams, not yours. and forests have wonderful things like the cacao that we rarely acknowledge. Tropical rainforests are where we got a lot of things. Cacao originated from tropical rainforests in Ecuador. Other places too, but really some of the plants, the earliest plants, DNA, work we're going to talk about later, so that's me.
And so this is kind of just a teaser of a conversation. It's a really short conversation. So one thing that has kind of kept a secret in our country, unfortunately, is that food that's good for us is also good for the planet, right? So how do we reframe that and get that messaging out, that when you're making a choice to treat your body and use food as medicine, you're also healing the planet, you're also protecting the rainforests? Thoughts on that?
So in the dairy world, when that's one of the things that I was touching on, the ethical dairy farming is precisely that. When we make food, or like we did not face such dire situations even, I don't want to go back even that long ago, maybe like 50, 75 years ago. And the reason was the practices. If a certain practice is not good for the environment, it will not be good for the human, it will not be good for the animal, and thereby everything around it. So dairy farming practices, I can speak more strongly about that, have actually been, at least in this country, it's all about mass manufacturing. You go to a dairy farm, it's actually a farm. It's not really how you envision milk should be given by the cow. The ethical dairy farming practice is something as simple and as grounded as, imagine this, there are a lot of mothers in this room, when you were pregnant and then when you gave birth, imagine that as soon as you gave birth, your baby was taken away from you. You are naturally producing milk at that time. Would you think that milk would actually be good for the baby if it consumes it under that stress and duress conditions? No. So it's the same thing with the cow. If it's as simple as having those kind of more moralistic and ethical practices from something as basic as that, and thereby further processing it. And that could never harm anyone.
Right. Joshua, thoughts?
Yeah, so at Maxie's Microgreens, we grow microgreens in a fully enclosed automated grow house. We use highly organic soils, high quality organic soils, and we use water systems to move water to those flood trays with our soils. So we're not using traditional farming practices which contribute to global warming by having a blank field and then throwing nitrogen fertilizers on top. So we don't need anything like that. We don't need GMO seeds, fertilizers, or pesticides. So you're getting the nutrients that you're supposed to get when you eat our products.
So you ask me, and for us, it's, if we start thinking about, you talked about the planet, our bodies, how do we start thinking about the future generation rather than just what we are focused on in the present? How do we start thinking about not what's going to serve us today, but what's going to serve us in 2 years, 5 years, 8 years? We'd be making very different decisions. We've broken the system because we don't ask very basic questions for where things come from. I think most of you didn't get to watch the video where I'm eating the cacao fruit. How many people know what a cacao fruit looks like? Okay, 4, 5, 6 people. That's your chocolate, guys. Where is it coming from? What does it look like? What does it do to the places it's coming from? How does it get to us? Europe is having serious conversations about this, right? Most things that are eaten in Europe don't grow in Europe. Can we get connected better? Because when we do, we will be healthier, and our forests will be healthier, and our ecosystems will be healthier, and we will have nutrients in all our products. We won't have to just go to micronutrients, because the way we're growing things, we've lost the nutrients in the very products that everything we're eating now. 20, 30 years ago, same things had far more nutrients.
Right, we're losing our nutrients because our soils are depleted.
Yeah, so how do we ask those basic questions? And it starts with all of us. Who are we that are beginning to learn and ask questions, that start asking these questions to shift our own trajectory? Because it's a collective trajectory, right?
I think it's not just even asking something like where are we getting our food from, but is it the right place are we getting it from also? See, because many of us over here are already an audience that cares about it, right? Like we are all passionate about where our food comes from, but also asking, is it really the right place where it's supposed to come from? Because that would then again make you think, oh, I shouldn't have gotten my milk from Mexico. I could have gotten it from Texas, like down the road. Why am I getting it from Mexico again? You know, that, something as simple as even that.
We have less than a minute left. It was a really, really
No,
short
I asked
conversation.
Where was the cacao from? That's what the first question I asked. Where are you getting your cacao from?
But you were going to say one other thing, and then Josh, I want to offer you last thoughts. Especially in terms of getting your product out more widely. A big piece of food as medicine, and unfortunately we don't have time to get into it, is equity. So how can we make sure that people who maybe need it the most are getting high quality food that's at an affordable price?
Yeah, so our mission at Maxine's Microgreens is to enrich food with the qualities of microgreens and put it in things like chocolate, tortillas, bread, so we can make products that have the benefits of eating servings of vegetables that we are missing from the nutrients in our soils, like you talked about before, and get those nutrients from foods that we already eat on the daily. So that's our strategy, and that's how we're going to do it.
Great. Well, if anybody wants to, this is a conversation that probably could have been a whole day's worth. So if anyone wants to continue the conversation with these three panelists, I invite you to do so. I'm going to take a step off the stage and introduce Joy Chevalier from the Cook's Nook in Austin, who's going to be moderating our next panel.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.